Not only has Justin Bieber been a victim of Diddy, but he's been exposing Epstein and things that are going on between the Epstein files for years. And on top of that, Ellen DeGeneres has been showing her true colors for quite some time. We're going to be tuning into this video here today and going in depth on everything that was said and all the clues that have been shared for years.
For years, people were told to
Thing that I like about the video that we're about to watch here is they talk about a lot of the code that's being mentioned throughout the years. We've spoken about Ellen, we've spoken about Justin Bieber here on the channel, but we haven't gotten too deep into the code. So we're going to have those discussions here today. And this whole grape soda and pizza, first of all, grape soda is not anything that anyone drinks. Like if you know someone who drinks grape soda that is an adult, please let me know in the comments below, because it's unheard of by anyone in my circles. So they're definitely talking about some strange things. Pizza, sure, everyone eats pizza, but the pizza and grape soda that we're seeing over and over again is 100% code for something darker.
war.
True.
One of them, Anna Paulina Luna, confirmed that these emails included coded phrases and descriptions involving. She openly said that the way these words were used was not normal, and that jerky, in particular, didn't sound like food at all when read in context. A forensic expert would later come out to say that these were likely euphemisms for something much, much worse.
There was even a point where they used the term jerky and they talked about having it refrigerated very well for transportation. And if you know anything about jerky, it's like a freeze-dried type of meat. There's no need for refrigeration. It literally sits on the shelves in supermarkets for extended periods of time. So saying that you need to refrigerate the jerky for transportation just doesn't make sense, and is also clearly telling us that they're talking in code.
Earlier, I'll give you another example here. Epstein sends a message to someone. She looks pregnant. Reacting to a photo. And the client replies back to Epstein, "You mean radiating a soft glow with the look of bliss and excitement? Yeah, that's the pizza." I cannot be clearer than this, that this is a code word. It makes no sense in context whatsoever. And this, on top of the example I gave you earlier, when his virologist gave him the medicine for having erectile dysfunction, I assume, or it could be even Viagra, and then told him to wash his hands, go have pizza and grape soda. That's been mentioned time and time again. You know, having adult men, successful men that are very health oriented, constantly talk about pizza and pizza.
He makes a good point there as well, right? Because these people are very health oriented. They very much care about their bodies and all of that. So to be so obsessed with pizza and grape soda also just seems strange.
With grape soda, which I've never heard before.
Yeah, I've never heard of pizza and grape soda before this. I don't know if that specific combination was part of the whole Pizzagate thing, but it's definitely mentioned a lot, because I saw that phrase, so I looked it up and was like, is this actually like in there multiple times? And it most definitely is.
You also saw the name Leonardo DiCaprio right there in that last file that just passed.
There's another one here. Have you seen the beef jerky mentioned as well? There's an email here from Jeffrey Epstein. Someone else says, Francis has time to come tomorrow to show me how to make it. Jerky, anyone? He will also bring you a taste of his jerky recipe from the restaurant and sends a warm hello. He's working at a restaurant called Cook's. Wait for it, beef jerky and steak. He has time at 3 p.m. There's other emails of him talking about beef jerky. Another one here, Jeffrey Epstein sending it to Steve Hansen saying, hope you're feeling better. Did we analyze the beef? Did we analyze the jerky?
It's pretty crazy to think that this whole network of upper elite rich folks are all engaging in eating of this jerky, as they're calling it. It's just super strange and super gross, and a lot of it is for that whole finding endless life and what's going to keep you young.
Now there's talks about jerky, referencing human. It could be for scientific research, could be something else
weird
that's even sicker. But there's more emails here talking about beef jerky. Have you had time to go through those? There's one here. Thank you so much. Super cool. IT guy setting up Surface right now. We are ridiculously excited, and beef jerky delicious. Thank you, Thanksgiving. So yeah.
It is very. Now I've got all those emails saved. I'd actually had somebody send me all of those to say, hey, would you check this out? So I have them. I have not read through all of them, but there's no shortage of terms that are phrased in a peculiar way. Muffin is another one. I've seen that a couple of times. I talked about when he says whoops. That seems to be in very sometimes he says that in very odd terms that seem like they're referring to somebody dying or getting. So there definitely seem to be code words.
Email after email talked about jerky being stored in freezers, carried in insulated bags, delivered urgently, and shared between Epstein and close associates. The messages sounded casual, even friendly, but the details raised serious red flags. Now it seems some big names are in trouble, one of the biggest of which is Ellen DeGeneres. For years, she was known as the smiling face of daytime TV.
Now, we're going to dive into Ellen a little bit here. And to recap, I've put out 3 videos on the channel surrounding Ellen DeGeneres. And I'm someone who used to enjoy her show. I thought she was funny, but now hearing all of the context to everything and watching back some of the instances that we're going to see here in just a moment, it's pretty clear to me that she is not the good person, the be kind person that she was trying to represent as.
Friendly, safe, funny. But according to insiders and whistleblowers, her name appears far closer to Epstein's world than many expected.
Oh yeah.
One rumor claiming she was Hollywood's most prolific recently went viral, with many on the internet claimed she had connections to Epstein. They claim she helped connect people, smoothed introductions.
Brad Pitt's back there too. I never noticed that. Angelina Jolie. Interesting.
And kept things quiet. While none of this has been proven in court, the allegations alone shocked many who grew up watching her on television. This is where people started looking back at old warnings. One of the best and most prominent examples of this is Justin Bieber, who once spoke openly about being scared, uncomfortable, and unprotected as a young star. At the time, many brushed it off as stress or fame pressure. Now, some believe he was trying to warn people, without knowing how or without being believed.
Justin Bieber's probably one of the people that is the deepest inside of all this because he was a child star. He was taken advantage of by the whole Diddy in that scene, which is basically a knockoff brand of everything going on with Epstein. Just as bad, though, for any of the victims. And he was very potentially part of what was going on in the Epstein world as well as a victim. This poor guy has had to deal with so much and honestly is very careful on how he says things, but there are hints that are dropped from time to time.
Lauren, what's fun? Yeah.
This right here is just focusing on how Ellen is going to make him feel uncomfortable and be inappropriate with him. A young man, there was no... Just to point out right here before we go any further, she's literally showing a picture, of course blurred out, of him naked, essentially, in his Bora Bora private hut. And just watch how she drills on, how uncomfortable he looks. It's all framed very funny. The audience is laughing. It is kind of goofy as well, but the way that she drives and pushes into it where he feels that...
Others remember how quickly fact-checkers rushed in whenever these topics came up. One really alarming piece of evidence tying back to the alleged scandal is that back in 2009, a young model by the name of Gabriela Jimenez broke down outside a hotel, screaming that she had seen something horrifying involving powerful guests.
Looks like she was trying to actually bite that police officer right there.
One clip that keeps coming back is from Chrissy Teigen, a longtime friend of Ellen DeGeneres. In the interview, Chrissy made shocking comments about being open to eating if the person okayed it. When asked again, she didn't laugh it off. She doubled down.
Actually, nothing I wouldn't eat or wouldn't drink or wouldn't try. If the person okayed it, I would eat a. If you were at a very fancy restaurant and they were like a tiny piece of meat.
No.
That's weird. I'm sorry, that's just a strange thing.
I think the only way
You wouldn't try a tiny bite?
No.
Really?
Absolutely not.
Good.
Is that terrible?
At the time, many people brushed it off as dark humor. Hollywood is known for edgy jokes. But after the Epstein files, some viewers started asking why anyone would even joke like that.
Right.
Online investigators also point out that Chrissy was a frequent guest at major celebrity events, including gatherings connected to Diddy and political figures. Another part of the story that caught attention involves a rare disease called Kuru.
Oh, this is interesting as well. It has to do with the disease that you get from eating fish.
Kuru was first discovered in the 20th century among certain tribes in Papua New Guinea. Scientists found that it's caused by prions damaged proteins that attack the brain. It can lead to tremors, loss of muscle control, and speech problems. When an old video surfaced of Jeffrey Epstein showing unusual mouth movements, internet users began speculating. Some tried to connect it to Kuru. Medical experts, however, warn that you cannot diagnose a complex brain disease from a short video clip. Still, speculation spread fast.
I know I'm about to sound completely insane, but just hear me out.
This is just another influencer right here. I actually don't know this influencer, but the way that she speaks about it is kind of funny. Like, she kind of plays it off as a joke, kind of doesn't want to say it fully because she's worried about the implications she can get herself in for saying it.
Pertains to the Epstein files, the Clintons, and I feel completely fine and I'm totally okay. All right, let's do this. How do we know if someone is a Well, they could have the Kuru disease.
Did you hear what she said? She said, I feel completely fine and I'm totally okay, letting everyone know that she's not ill, and if she ends up dead, there's a reason for it.
Which is a fatal neurodegenerative disease that spreads through eating tissue. It has a long incubation period, 10 to 30 years. Early symptoms are headaches, coordination issues, anxiety, and inappropriate laughter. Middle stage, severe tremors and shaking, loss of balance and slurred speech. Late stage, inability to walk, dementia, and the forever sleep. Do you know of any elites rumored to have consumed but
Now, we've just seen the Clintons. They were both in court having to do with things relating to the Epstein files, which is actually strange because they were the only ones that were brought in. There's definitely some others in political office that are due their day in court. But do you think that they were doing this type of thing? Anything that you listened to while they were in court relating to them being accused of any of this stuff, they denied. They denied even knowing these people. But do you feel that they were lying and that they were actually consuming, as our influencer friend right here is saying?
I'm not accusing anyone of anything. This is just a fun little joke video with truth in the mix. No, the Kuru disease has nothing to do with the Epstein files or anyone in them. Definitely not the Clintons. And I feel fantastic. So, yeah. Have a good day. Okay, thanks.
See how she did that?
Supporters of these theories argue that powerful people often disappear from the spotlight citing health reasons. They say when elites suddenly retreat, it makes you wonder. On one side, there are serious documented crimes tied directly to Epstein crimes proven in court. On the other side, there's a storm of online claims, extreme theories, and viral clips that mix fact with speculation. And in the middle of it all are familiar faces from Hollywood and politics, especially if you start going back into the history of some of these allegations. In August 2025, new claims surfaced 5 years after the original workplace scandal that ended the Ellen DeGeneres show. This time, a former cameraman spoke to the Daily Mail and described what he said was a tense and uncomfortable work environment. According to him, Ellen allegedly didn't treat male staffers well. He claimed the show went through multiple male employees and even said there were 9 different stage managers in a single season.
And if you think about this, if you recall, she had someone that was on her show with her called Twitch, named Twitch. He unfortunately ended his own existence. And you have to wonder if there's a lot more behind that. I actually did a video on that, diving a little bit deeper into that whole discussion a couple of weeks ago. It's probably worth you looking at if you're interested in that. But it's saying here that she did not treat her male employees well. Also worth noting, she didn't treat her female employees well either, but you have to wonder how people being treated could reflect on their existence.
We had a feeling she really didn't like guys, he reportedly said. He also described what staff called the Ellen gaze. He said when she was upset, her eyes would narrow and her cheekbones would tighten. To him, it felt like a queen looking for her next execution. That's how intimidating he claimed she could be. At the same time, he said her wife, Portia de Rossi, was kind and friendly to staff. But he made one strange claim. If a male employee was seen chatting too comfortably with Portia, it could reportedly upset Ellen. Staff, he said, hoped they wouldn't get seated near her wife during events just to avoid drawing attention. More interestingly, a year earlier in late 2024, reports had spread that Ellen and Portia had quietly moved out of the United States after Donald Trump won the presidential election.
Right, and that's what everyone thought, that some of these, maybe because she was gay and worried about her gay rights, she left the country because of Trump and being anti all of that, taking office. Maybe that could be. But it also could be that the Epstein files started coming out and her connections to all of that scared her away and she wanted to get out of the country before everything came to fruition.
Some media outlets suggested the move was political, but not everyone bought that explanation. Soon after the news went viral, Elon Musk reacted online. He responded to a post suggesting that Ellen's departure might not be about politics at all. The post hinted at another possible reason: her past social connections with Diddy, who is currently facing serious legal troubles.
Oh, yeah.
She is on record being
about them, she said.
I'll listen to the music.
By 2020, the pressure around Ellen DeGeneres wasn't just coming from online rumors anymore, it was coming from inside her own show. That summer, 36 former employees of the Ellen DeGeneres show spoke to reporters about what they described as a toxic workplace. The accusations were serious. They included claims of harassment, inappropriate behavior, and misconduct involving 3 executive producers. The story exploded after BuzzFeed News published a detailed report. Soon after, NPR obtained a memo Ellen had sent to her staff. In that note, she apologized.
Did you guys watch Ellen? Were you fans of her before all of this came out? Did you think that she was this great TV personality, or were you someone that always was skeptical?
Welcome to season 18 of the Ellen DeGeneres Show.
A new chapter. That's what
That was Twitch right there.
Ellen promised today as she returned to her studio and spoke out for the first time about the controversy swirling around her.
This summer, there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show. And then there was an investigation. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened.
She apologized and promised to do better.
The truth is, I am that person that you see on TV. I am also a lot of other things. Sometimes I get sad, I get mad, I get anxious, I get frustrated, I get impatient, and I am working on all of that. I am a work in progress. And if I've ever let someone down, if I've ever hurt their feelings, I am so sorry for that.
But one former Ellen producer isn't buying it.
Is that genuine? Do you think that's a genuine apology? No, of course. All of us as humans, no one is perfect, and we're all working on our own demons and working on to be the best person we can be. And Ellen as well, I'm sure. But I think it was taken to the next level with how she treated her employees. But the question was, is that a genuine apology?
Hedda Muscat worked on The Ellen Show back in 2003.
Phony, liar, hypocrite. That's my reaction. She's known about this for 17 years. She's created this culture. I was there from day one. We were all petrified of her. She was not nice.
The bigger issue, according to some staffers, was the culture itself. Several said there was no safe or confidential way to file complaints. Some claim senior staff discouraged
That again is Twitch.
them from speaking up. Warner Brothers, the studio behind the show, eventually launched an internal investigation. Executive producers were removed. Public statements were made. But critics online began asking a different question. Why did it take so long? Then another name surfaced, one that added a new layer to the story.
Video clip is a short one, just 3 seconds long. It's part of the Epstein files, and it shows the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein being shown in the Louvre by Jack Lang. The 86-year-old former culture minister knew Epstein for years and used his car and his plane. Lang told French media that he'd met Epstein through Woody Allen and would have cut off all contact had he known that he was at the heart of a criminal network. But Lang's family ties to Epstein go beyond casual acquaintances. The French investigative site Mediapart revealed that Epstein opened an offshore account in the U.S. Virgin Islands in 2016, and half of the shares were owned by Caroline Lang, the former minister's daughter. Her name is also in Epstein's will, signed 2 days just before his death in prison. He promised her $5 million.
I think it's worth noting that so many people were pulled into this, and Epstein was utilizing these people as blackmail, right? He would bring them in, expose them to things that were going on, have them on camera, participating in some way, and he then has them forever. And he has them at his fingertips with complete control, maybe foreign intelligence, maybe something more, but there was a lot more to it than people just hanging out with him.
And Ellen's list of celebrity critics kept growing. In June 2025, comedian Margaret Cho said on a podcast that Ellen had been a mean girl behind the scenes. Cho claimed they had known each other for years from stand-up comedy days, but when she appeared on Ellen's talk show, she was treated like a stranger.
Is it personal? Is it petty? Is it rude? Or is Ellen just this completely evil identity that's deeply rooted with both P. Diddy and with the Epstein files? Justin Bieber did share and has been sharing things throughout the years, little tidbits. If you're keeping your eyes and ears open enough, you'll be hearing all of that. But Ellen DeGeneres, is she guilty?